Hey, what is up, nerds, geeks, and collectors alike? Today we are taking a look at the Transformers Studio Series Subline Gamer Edition Voyager class Optimus Prime and Deluxe class Bumblebee. And I think this is the second subline of Studio Series, the first one being the 86 subline, and now we have the Gamer Edition subline, which makes you wonder how many more characters and how many more sublines are we going to get with Studio Series. I for one would like to see a concept or comic book subline for Studio Series for other characters. And here we have the figures out of packaging. But let's set them aside and let's take a look at their dioramas. And here with Optimus Prime, we have the corrupted worm boss fight, which is actually fitting because this is where they travel to the core of Cybertron, and this is where Prime gets the matrix of leadership. Now with Bumblebee's diorama, I'm trying to figure out where this is or in what mission this takes place in. I'd like to conclude that this is just a generic War for Cybertron backdrop, but until then I'm just gonna conclude that this is Zeta Prime's base. Now taking a look at the figures right here, starting off with Optimus Prime. To me, I kind of prefer the War for Cybertron look compared to the Fall of Cybertron, and Hasbro did a wonderful job translating it into action figure form. They captured the bulkiness while maintaining the articulation, which we will get to later. Overall, the painting and the sculpting that this figure has is wonderful. And taking a look here at the back, kind of nostalgic because that is your point of view in the game. So yeah, in terms of robot mode, Hasbro really outdone themselves with the Gamer Edition Voyager class Optimus Prime. And one of the neat gimmicks that this figure has is the matrix of leadership, which he does get after the corrupted worm boss fight if my camera focuses on it. And as you can see, it is painted and sculpted nicely. Now for you to put the matrix back, what you want to do is just clip it like this, and there you have it. And close these parts. So yeah, that's about it for Optimus Prime. And for the Autobot Scout Bumblebee right here, his proportions are kind of wonky. He is top heavy, at the same time it's hollow, while the legs are super long and super skinny. And I don't think Bumblebee is that disproportioned in the movie. I think this is actually just a creative choice. And unfortunately, I forgot to mention, I do not own the previous versions of these figures, so I really can't compare them. This is actually my first time holding a War for Cybertron figure. Now, I'm not saying that this is the worst figure of all time. I just wish that he was proportioned better. But in my experience, he is still a pretty fun figure to have and to play with. For the accessories, let's start off with Optimus Prime's blaster. Here we have his gun, which is cast in this black-gray plastic. And in order to mount it, you just remove the entire arm. And what you want to do is peg this right here. And there you have Optimus Prime with his blaster. Now for his other accessory, it is an Energon X, which comes into 3 pieces. And as you can see right here, they are trying to imitate the glowing effect, but for me it's kind of overwhelming in person, but not a major deal breaker. And this is an option where you can take it apart and you slowly position them, where Optimus Prime can wield this axe using 2 hands. And here we have just peg this in. And then what you want to do is get the axe. And here you have Optimus Prime wielding his axe. Now moving on to Bumblebee. Bumblebee includes 2 different weapons. Now it is your choice which one you prefer. During my days while playing the game, the one on the left is a sniper. I forgot the name, but I do use it quite often. Now it is your choice whichever one you want to mount. And there you have Bumblebee with his weapons. And Bumblebee comes with a melee weapon, which is sculpted very beautifully. And now that I think about it, I think Bumblebee is the only deluxe class to include 3 accessories. Now moving on to articulation, Optimus Prime's head is on a ball joint, therefore the 360 right there. He can look up that far and look down that far. His arms can go out this far, but you can go even further. And bringing this back, you do have some extension, but that's more for the transformation, and I doubt you will be able to use it. So yeah, and his arm can do a complete 360. He has a bicep swivel, a 90-degree bend at the elbow, and some wrist swivel, but unfortunately it is restricted by the kibble right here. And the same articulation goes with the arms. You'll retain most of the articulation, and of course the wrist rotation will be gone because you'll be replacing it with a weapon. He has a waist swivel, and his feet can kick up that far, and for some reason he can't move back at all. I think it is kibble that is restricting him right at the back right there. And yeah, and fixing all of this up, as you can see, he can do the splits fairly well, actually beautifully. He can do the splits. And putting this back, he does have a swivel right there. He has a 90-degree bend at the elbow. His feet can barely go down and go up not at all, and just a small pivot. Now for Bumblebee's articulation, his head is also on a ball joint, therefore the 360. He can look up that far and look down that far. And his shoulders can move out, but it takes some negotiating with the shoulder pads. What you want to do is you flip the shoulder pads and then you flip the arm, which gives you more range. And he has a bicep swivel right there, a 90-degree bend at the elbow, and he does have this, but that's more for the transformation, and it does break the mold, so I doubt anyone will be using that anytime soon. And same with Optimus, you retain most of the articulation even when you replace the hand with a weapon. He does have a waist swivel as well, and as you can see, it is quite restricted right there, so it takes some negotiating. And he can kick that far up until his kibble at the belly and the feet hinders him, and he can kick that far back. He can do the splits fairly well right there. And fixing all of this up, he has a upper thigh swivel, as you can see, 90-degree bend, more than a 90-degree bend, and he does have some up and down at the forward toe right here, if my camera would focus, right there, which is restricted by the kibble up top. And he has a pivot at the opposite side, but that's more for the transformation. He has no pivot whatsoever. And for the size comparison, I'm just gonna compare these guys with each other. Optimus stands about 6.25 inches, but he does reach 6.5 if you include his horns, while Bumblebee stands a little above 5 inches, which I think is a pretty good scale for both of these figures. Now let's move on to the transformation. And here we have Studio Series Gamer Edition, War for Cybertron, Optimus Prime, and Bumblebee in their alt modes. And starting off with Optimus Prime, he does retain his chunkiness from robot mode, as you can see right here. And Hasbro did a pretty good job capturing his in-game appearance. Almost very good if it wasn't for these atrocious hands sticking out at the back. I can already tell someone is already making a upgrade kit, or someone who is smart enough with a 3D printer which would flip out and cover his hands. And Bumblebee, on the other hand, as you can see right here, he is completely encased, no robo kibble anywhere. This guy is a perfect figure form representation of his War for Cybertron alt mode. He is compressed very nicely, as you can see right here, and you can use him as a mouse, which his proportions does resemble a mouse. But I love it. I got no complaints with Bumblebee's alt mode. And here I'm just doing a test whether or not the wheels are moving, and for Optimus Prime they are all moving, and same goes with Bumblebee despite that very small clearance, which is very impressive. So to summarize my thoughts with these figures, in terms of playability, I am having fun transforming them and playing with them, and they don't give you a hard time when you transform or pose them. Now for the painting and the sculpting, Optimus Prime is definitely very nice in terms of robot mode. His alt mode is also incredible if it wasn't for the arms sticking out. Now with Bumblebee, I did mention that my problem was the wonky proportions in robot mode, but his alt mode is definitely perfect on my book. So if you're a fan of the 2010 War for Cybertron video game, then these are definitely a must-have. I know they are for me. So that's about it. Till next time, see ya.